Good morning, everyone. Gazalelo here, Bondi Guru. I hope you're all doing wonderful. So it's Friday, 7th of November, back on live stream. Today's day 5 of the live stream. I'm not going to sit here and count it forever, but it's good to know we're 5 days in. For now, anyway, it'll be Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. I am considering playing around with the time a little bit, maybe further down the track, but at this stage, I'm pretty happy with how the time works, especially for me and for the animals. As many of you know, there are plenty of animals that I have in my home, and my number one priority every morning is to make sure that they are taken care of. That's always my number one priority. So just before we dive in, I'm going to remind you to be in the present moment. So just take a couple of moments, place both feet firmly flat on the ground, and all you're doing is bringing your attention to feeling sensations in the inner energy field of your feet. This is important because, first of all, the sensations in the inner energy field of the body are the doorway into the here and now. If you're not here in the present moment, in particular with these, the messages here that are delivered for your star sign won't really make any sense to you. They won't be of any use to you. So bringing your attention to the present moment allows you to, good morning, Isabella, nice to see you. It's lovely to have you here. Bringing your attention to the present moment allows you to translate the words back into energy and hear it at your level of consciousness, your level of awareness, and your level of understanding, which is actually very important. Sometimes, I say sometimes, sometimes let's just say somebody talks about, I don't know, present moment awareness, or they talk about consciousness, or, all these types of things. Most often, they're going to go over people's heads because it could be that the language that is being used may not necessarily be familiar. And so for you to access a level of understanding from what is being said, you actually have to be in the present moment. You also need to check everything with your own intuition. Yeah, certain things that I'll say here will resonate immediately, which is great. And there are some things that I say that won't resonate at all. And it's not that what I'm saying, one day I haven't hit the mark and the next day I have hit the mark. It's got nothing to do with that. It's not that, your intuition was spot on today and then the next day it wasn't quite spot on. Even that's not true. What I've learned, in particular over the years in delivering these forecasts, is the more present you are and aligned you are, the more you slow down, the easier it becomes for you to access what the true message is here for you. It's very easy to dismiss it because it doesn't make sense. And in particular, when your forecast doesn't make sense, I always recommend come back to it at the end of the day. Don't worry about it at the beginning of the day. When you're reading it doesn't make sense. Also, whatever doesn't make sense, don't just dismiss it. Leave it. Give it some breathing room. Come back to present moment awareness, and whether it's today, tomorrow, or the next day, something will land for you. For you to receive these forecasts, you also have to do the work, and the work is being in the present moment. I just make that very clear. Okay, so that being said, let's dive into today's forecasts, and we'll see how long today's session will be. So far, we've had them like about an hour. I think even close to an hour and a bit. We'll see how far we get, what timing we get to do these in today. You are welcome to ask any questions at any point. I will do my best to answer them. Had some good questions coming through the DMs in the last few days as well. So let's go into Aries. One of the things, before I press record here, I'm noticing about the Aries, and I was just kind of sitting pondering about this earlier, is I want to remind the Aries of something here. Everyone is, I'm going to say everyone, and I'm going to stick with this one. Everyone that you're looking to get information from, or whatever it may be, it's not that they don't have anything useful to offer, of course. Some wisdoms will work for you, some won't work for you. Ultimately, what is most useful for you to just come back to yourself. Come back to how the actions or the decisions you're making feel for you, rather than relying on getting results based on what someone else is telling you. I don't know why, but I feel like that's really important for the Aries. And also that lots of people are experimenting themselves. So they don't have the solid answer for you. They're in the process of their own journey, their own experimentations. And so it is useful for you to, again, keep coming back to yourself. That's a really important message for the Aries. I should have just recorded that. Okay, so 1 second, sorry. Okay. You'll have the opportunity today, dear Aries, for a new understanding. And it's a new understanding about how to operate based on exactly the space that you're currently in. And what this is suggesting to you is that the space, the circumstances that you're in, it's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with your circumstances or the space that you're in. The issue is how you're operating, your mental. That's what's going to be the make or break for you. And I want to remind you, the mental is something that you have to recalibrate and work on every single day. It's something that you have to focus on giving energy and attention to every single day. The recalibrating part is what is most important. Often people have this idea that, okay, I'm just going to be in the present moment for a second or two, and that's it. I've done my 5 minutes of meditation for the day, and I'm just going to get on with the day. But the day that they get on with is in their own heads. It's not really present moment awareness. And so for the Aries, you also have the opportunity to align with two very powerful decisions, and each decision will support you to access resources that will bring about a shift in lifestyle that I feel like is going to be tremendous. It's a shift that will support you to be able to support certain people in your life to make changes that then will become like a domino effect. So I do want to let the Aries know you're in a great space. You're in a, sure, the circumstances may not appear to be what you want them to be. The key for you, however, is to shift the mindset and continue recalibrating. Every single day, you have to work on recalibrating. It's not something that, unless you master being in the present moment, which can be quite rare, and perhaps remaining in the present moment, you have to keep recalibrating. I feel like it's important for people to understand. I was really pondering about this one yesterday. There are so many different thoughts that compete in our own minds, so many different ideas and memories and anything that takes up our mental space. And so we have to keep coming back to the breath and recalibrating. It doesn't actually matter what star sign you are, right? Come back to the breath. Every time you come back to the breath, your opportunity is to recalibrate. And when I say recalibrate, what you're doing is you're shifting the frequency of the mental. There are lots of different conversations going on. You're tuning into a lot of stuff that, excuse me, not just you, me, all of us, we tune into a lot of the past commentaries and anything that feels familiar. And so it's our job to continue to come back to the present moment and then recalibrate. And essentially what you're doing is when you're recalibrating is you're pulling the plug from whatever you've been tuned into and shift it to and tune it into a different frequency, different vibration, one that feels more expansive for you. Now, when you plug into a frequency or vibration that feels more expansive, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be incredibly challenging. And just stay at that higher vibration or frequency, whatever words, energy we want to use here, is going to be very challenging because the old frequency, the old version is more familiar, so it feels a lot more comfortable. And generally what we have a tendency to do is lean more towards something that feels more comfortable. Okay, Marita, good morning. I'm well. Thank you for asking. I've had a really good morning. I took Willow out. Willow is one of my German Shepherds for a lovely walk this morning. We get up really early in the mornings, and one of the things I do, because she's super high energy, is first she goes on her own treadmill. Bless her little cotton woolies. She'll probably walk on her treadmill for about 15 minutes while I shower and get ready for the day. And then I put her lead on and we go for a walk. I've got two other dogs. king, which many of you know of, who's 12 years old. At the moment, he's got a bit of a limp, so he can't really go for a big walk. And then, of course, Layla, the little vibe we call her. She's just incredible. Okay. And there are some days where I wake up and the only thing I want to do is just spend it with them and nothing else. So we're going to dive into Taurus now. Do yourself a favor, dear Taurus, and give what you're doing an opportunity to work. And I say this because it is working and it will work. I also feel that by giving yourself the opportunity or what you're doing and the actions that you're taking and the decisions that you're making, giving them an opportunity to work will allow you to be able to be yourself. So there are moments where you are yourself naturally and you get to feel that. And when you're yourself and you're able to be yourself, there's a feeling of, it feels beautiful, deep relaxation in the body. So the nervous system feels deeply relaxed, which is, I'm going to say, probably one of the most beautiful spaces to be in life, when the nervous system feels deeply relaxed. The moment that your nervous system starts to go into chaos again is when you're trying to be other people, you're trying to be something different, you're trying to get rid of maybe how you're feeling. That trying energy is probably the best way to say it, is what creates a lot of tension in your nervous system. And so for the Taurians, my suggestion is to remove yourself from the trying energy. I hear this often where people say, well, I'm trying really hard to go to sleep, or I'm trying really hard to breathe so that I don't have to stay in this state that I'm in, and so on and so forth. In fact, I even had this conversation with somebody early this morning. And I said to them, don't try, because that's not going to be useful. Instead of trying, have a different conversation with your body. A conversation that looks a little bit like this, especially when the body goes into chaos. What can I do to help you feel safety? How can I help you feel safe? What do you need from me that will support you to feel safe? This is a game changer. And so for the Taurians, what I would really love for you to gauge is your nervous system. The moment you start to feel tension, it's because you are trying to do something that you don't need to try to do. Bring your attention back, flow of the breath, as deeply relaxed as you possibly can. Just stay here, stay in the now, and or have that conversation that I just shared with you. And the rest will reveal itself through your intuition. It was a really great conversation, actually, that I had this morning. The more you try to do something, the more you're going to operate from an energy that is limitation. And that's a tough one because, again, I hear people all the time, but I'm trying to do this or I'm trying to do that. Or I've noticed, for example, even myself on my health journey, when I try to lose weight, it doesn't work. It never works. The moment I let it go and I stop trying, it just, all of a sudden, I have more energy. It happens. It basically just occurs itself. But the moment I try to do it, it's the same thing with getting present. When I see people do it all the time, I'm trying to be present. You can't try to be present. It doesn't exist. You either are here or you're not. So instead of trying to be here, because you're trying to do it with the thinking, be here. How do you be here? Just feel the flow of the breath. It's as simple as that. Notice the flow of the breath. As soon as you start to notice the flow of the breath, you're in the here and now. You get to observe that mental chaos that tends to run the show. So in particular for the Taurians, I want to say get rid of, but you can't get rid of anything. Remove your attention from the trying part. Okay, then we're going to jump onto Gemini. Yep, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Yep. You know, after all these years of doing these forecasts, I still have to count. Okay, there's 12 of them, and it starts with Aries, it finishes with Pisces. Although that being said, I can do it backwards now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. One of the things I'm noticing is a lot of the questions that are coming in through messages or DMs are about either how to be grounded or how to be present, which is great. They're great questions. They're the kind of questions that I love addressing. And how to be grounded is an interesting one, because for each star sign, there are different ways to ground based on the psychology of your star sign. And maybe that's a video that I can create and go into a little bit later. So then also for who you are as an individual, how to ground yourself. One of the best ways that I find in my experience of grounding is accessing the pace of the present moment, which is a lot slower. I tell you, there's magic in that. The moment you've accessed the pace of the present moment, you know there's not a single thought that can have any power over you whatsoever. And sometimes it's harder than other times to access, to access the pace of the present moment. Just, I'm aware of that because it just depends on whatever's been going on for you, whatever story you're feeling most attached to. Okay, so Gemini for today. I want nothing more, dear Gemini, than to deliver incredible news for you and to tell you that so many amazing things are happening and going to happen in your life and so on and so forth. I would do that, however, with the agenda to get you out of where you are. And I don't know that that's useful for you. Just hear me out for a second. There's a lot of emotional challenges that has been occurring for the Geminis in probably recent times. Longer than recent times, but it's for a while, right? Emotional turmoil is probably a better way to say it. And it's not been easy for you going through this emotional turmoil. What I can say, however, is you're at a point in particular today where the best thing you can do for yourself is surrender. Surrender to however you are feeling without the need to change it, fix it, improve it, and get out of it. And that's why I said at the beginning of your forecast, I want nothing more than to deliver all of this exciting, fun things to say, because tell you about how wonderfully your life is going to change and all these amazing things that will happen. And it's not to say that they don't exist. It's just that today it's not about that, because those things will become nothing but distractions for you. And I know that more than anything, there's a part of you that just wants to be distracted so as not to feel how you're feeling. You're at the end of something here. And the end point is the release point. Without true surrender, that release point can't take place. So where you are right now is perfect. You need to be in today and you need to surrender. It could be a really deep, dark grief that you're experiencing, or sadness or anger or rage. The emotion feels quite heavy. My suggestion to the Geminis, as difficult as I understand this suggestion is to even hear, is to surrender to it. Do nothing about changing it, fixing it, or improving it. I'll leave it there. Thank you. It's a huge one. Sometimes, I guess it's human nature to want to change how somebody's feeling when they're not feeling great. You know, we want to make them feel better, so on and so forth. Often it's the part of ourselves that we don't know how to deal with, which is why we want to make other people feel better, you know. However, I think sometimes the biggest gift we can offer anybody that we love is the opportunity to let them be where they're at. Because at the end of the day, no matter where you're at, what you're feeling, there has to be a moment of surrender. It needs to be. And certain situations will continue to come around and trigger, you know, certain emotions for you to eventually surrender. And I guess the surrender part is what is most resistant, what my people resist the most, because of what they make it mean about either surrender or what they make it mean about themselves in their surrender. Sometimes the answer is throw your hands up and surrender. Doesn't mean you're giving up on yourself or you're giving up on life. It just means, I often have this picture in my mind that let things land exactly as they are. Sometimes when I'm in the fight and I'm trying to change things and, trying to get to this next place or trying, that's a battle. I'm in a battle when I'm in that trying space. I remember if I come back to this present moment and I land here and I let everything land exactly the way that it is, in exactly the way that I'm feeling, and not fight any of what appears to be 300 different battles in front of me, just leave it. Don't fight it. Don't fight any of it. Just let it be there. Let it all land, because when everything lands and the dust settles, then and only then are you capable of recognizing what it is you're actually dealing with. And in those moments, that's when I realize I'm not dealing with the mayhem that I'm creating and the chaos that I'm creating because I'm giving attention to so many different stories and thoughts. What I'm actually dealing with is maybe just, for example, I feel hopeless in this moment. And I don't want to feel hopeless, so I'm going to battle everything so I don't have to feel hopeless. The truth is, I feel hopeless. Okay. Yes, I can change that and I can get up and battle and fight, but that hopelessness will remain in me and it will continue to be triggered. And I have to keep going to places that feel almost like rock bottom so that I can address the hopelessness. If I just address it in the moment where I realize I don't have to battle anything or walk away from the battle, then I've addressed the hopelessness and I don't have to keep bringing situations into my life to trigger that hopelessness. I hope that makes sense. Speaking of hope. Again, any questions? I can't really see. Every so often I'll look at the screen, but my focus is on delivering this content, not so much on the screen. And again, someone said to me, is it really worth you being up in the mornings and doing this? I was like, it is. For as long as I'm doing it for me and doing it because it helps me stay consistent, it's worth it. But if I start doing it for other people and focusing on what everybody else is going to get from it, or are people watching or not watching, then no, it's not worth my time. Okay, I try to make sure that I have... It's amazing how valuable our time is. I don't even know if people really watch this. Okay, at the end of it, I mean, like during the day. Okay, so we're going to dive into the forecast for the Cancerians. Feeling a bit hungry this morning. I'm not sure what that means. Marina, I have no idea what language. Is that Italian? I can't tell, actually. I shouldn't even ask that. Okay. So we'll focus now on the Cancerians. Spanish, forgive me, I'm sorry. But what is it saying? What are you saying in Spanish? From Argentina. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. What's your star sign? Actually, guys, it would be really cool. I thank you. That's very kind. I appreciate that. Thank you. It would be really cool if you do comment to let me know your star sign. I love knowing. It's really cool for me. Okay. So for the Cancerians can be really good at giving lots of advice. You have to be mindful of this as a Cancerian, because the advice that you give most often or not isn't for others. It's actually for yourself. You need to hear it more than anybody else needs to hear it. Marina, Virgo. Okay, beautiful. We'll get to Virgo shortly. Okay, so I'm going to dive into Cancer. Maybe that's going to be exactly what the Cancerians need to hear for today in particular. You have to be a little bit mindful, dear Cancer, or perhaps a lot mindful of the advice that you give to the people around you, the world around you, and so on. And I share this because majority of the time your advice is for yourself. It's not for other people. There is no one size fits all. And sometimes you operate from this place where I'm doing this thing, so because I'm doing it, then everybody else should be doing it. If everybody else does it, then everyone's going to be happy. That's actually not the case at all. Some of the things that you're doing, your wisdom will work for some people, and there are many things that you do that won't work for a lot of people. The reason I'm sharing this is because you're going to tire yourself out, exhaust yourself by the continued way that you're operating in terms of giving advice. I also want to recommend to the Cancerians is just take a moment to recognize the advice that you do give. Sometimes you're giving just general advice to a friend, right? I'm not saying you're advising the entire world necessarily, but sometimes you're giving general advice to a friend or a family member. Just notice the advice you're giving. What is the message in the advice that you are giving? I would highly recommend that you take the time today, number one, get present and get truly present. Understand, number two, that your journey is not the same as everybody else's journey. Even though it may appear to be, just because you've gone through some things that somebody else has gone through, it doesn't make it the same, number two. And number three, ask yourself the question, okay, remember some advice that you've given recently or some that you might end up giving today. What's the true message that I'm offering here? I feel like that can be a game changer for the Cancerians. What's the true message that I'm offering here? I also feel like I can say to the Cancerians that once you understand what the true message is, you'll know if it's actually useful or not, and who the message actually is for. But now I'm aware that that's going to upset some Cancerians. You don't want to upset a Cancerian. It's something I learned a long time ago. The wrath of a Cancerian, I don't feel like you want to see that. Okay, so the next one we're going to go into is the Leos. Okay, I'm sensing some calmer energy with the Leo, and this is wonderful. I love this for you guys because there's been so much up and down, Let me dive into the forecast here. I'm noticing for the Leo, just as I press record and as I sit here, have a conversation on the live session, is that you guys are beginning to now access that calmer space, that calmer energy. So there's been a shift for the Leos, maybe even just in the last 24 hours. And I tell you what this shift feels like to me. There's an old thought that taunts you, and it's often you've given it so much power over the years that this one thought has kept you so limited in an area of your life, right? And in the recent 24 hours, you've made one very, 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 very powerful decision, and that is to stop giving attention to that thought. That is to tell the thought that it's a lie and that you don't have to keep feeding it. How you feed the thought is with your attention. So there was a moment of perhaps awakening for the Leos. Let's just say the thought comes in and says, oh, you're not good enough. You're not capable of, succeeding in what you're doing because you don't have what it takes. The person that succeeds has so much more than you, blah, blah. I don't know what the content, I'm making that up. And you hear that all day, every day, all day, every day. You've been hearing that for years. You've been hearing it through whispers, through many different thoughts. You've been manifesting it, perhaps through seeing it in reflections through other people, things of that nature. It's just been your world for such a long time. Although, that being said, it doesn't appear to be from outside looking in, because of course you're a Leo. Leo boasts a lot of confidence all the time. However, what goes on inside can sometimes be a different story. It's not to say that your confidence isn't authentic, because you do have very authentic confidence. So then there's a moment where you look at that thought and go, you know what, I'm not going to give you any more attention. Certainly not in those words, but something to that effect. And that's what has created the shift for the Leos. And that's where there's that calm energy. What you're now able to do from the space of this calm energy is your game changer. My recommendation to the Leos, however, what I just said, what you're able to do is go slow. Go slow. You don't need to roll up your sleeves and get shit done. Don't worry about that today. Just go slow. Enjoy experiencing this calm energy, and then allow the calm energy to direct and guide you. I love delivering moments where I can share the shift with you guys. That's really cool. Well done to the Leos. That's great. And again, this is where I said in the forecast that you may not necessarily say to yourself in the words that I'm sharing here. All I have is words. If I could sit here silently and deliver the forecast, believe me, I would much prefer to do that. However, all I have is words. And so, why it's important for you to be present as you're listening to the forecast is because this way, then you get to access the same space that I'm operating from here, which is present moment awareness, exactly the same space, and you get to hear the true message for who you are as an individual. Because it's really easy to listen to these words for somebody that's completely unconscious. They will listen to these words and go, I never had that conversation with myself. I don't know what you're talking about. This is bullshit. And then they just kind of, well, they'll either email that to me or move on. Most of them hopefully just move on. Or they'll put that in the message, like, this is gibberish. So yes, of course it's going to be gibberish for you because you're not here. You're not in the present moment. You're so involved with all the chaos and thoughts and so on and so forth, and so identified with everything up here and external that it's impossible for any of these words to have any value for you. And so it's not necessarily the words that have the value, it's the space that has the value. And that's the biggest message that I would love to get across. Why do I do these forecasts? To help you access the space, which is present moment, so that you can hear your own intuition. Otherwise, I don't care about star signs. They don't mean anything to me. And I'm sure I've said this before, and I apologize if it comes across, is it as negative or aggressive in any way? I don't give a shit. It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing to me. I'm not here advocating for star signs. And in fact, I would never have gone down the path of star signs had it not been presented to me when I was much younger. Because somebody wanted to create a magazine and they asked me to write star signs. I said no. And my younger brother said, oh, but if you're intuitive, then maybe you can. I wrote one set of star signs. People loved it and I kept going. So I kind of fell into this. I never looked for it. The reason I'm saying this to you is because I don't want you to get lost in your star sign. I don't want you to get lost in the content. I want you to use these forecasts, in particular, the space that I'm speaking from and operating from, for you to access that same space so that you can come home to yourself and use your own intuition rather than rely, in particular, on the world around you and the advice of, everybody else. Like, listen to yourself. There will come a point in your life where everything you've been told from the people, I don't care how much of an expert they are, it doesn't matter, because you need to know who you are. You need to know what your intuition is guiding you with. There will come a point where nothing will work for you. There will come a point where none of the practices anybody has given you is going to work. There'll come a point where you'll be in a situation where you can't even reach out and go, well, who do I go to? That's intentional. Go to no one. Go to your own intuition. And the more you practice present moment awareness, then those points in life won't have to be filled with and fueled by suffering and filled with lots of suffering. Okay. Any questions? Feel free to ask. Where are we? Virgo. We're on Virgos now. I'm just going to do this. I'm just recording these as I speak. This is a sure way to make sure that everybody receives their daily intuitive horoscopes every single day. Now, these are not. I don't do these lives on the weekends at the moment, but so hopefully you'll receive your forecast for the weekend too. We'll see. So Virgo. Okay. Notice, dear Virgo, how you're dispersing your energy. You're giving your attention to too many different paths, thoughts, and ideas, as though all of these different paths, thoughts, and ideas are going to give you an answer that you're deeply searching for in your life at the moment. So my suggestion to the Virgos is to start to ever so gently and slowly remove your attention from all the different stories that you're giving so much attention to. Now, some of the stories have nothing to do with you. They could be, for example, you watch something, on the news, that story stays in your mind, it's impacting you, it's affecting you, and you're giving attention to it, right? Or you see things on social media, it's impacting you, it's affecting you, you're giving attention to it. What I'm going to recommend for the Virgos, maybe if you can do this for the next week, and I know it's going to be quite challenging, is to disconnect from as much media as you possibly can. Only watch things that are going to support you and fuel you and inspire you. Otherwise, leave it alone. So, like for example, my business is on social media, right? And so I don't want to be on social media. I have no desire to be on it. However, it's part of my business. And there are many days where I'll go and post the forecast, but I refuse to look at anything. There's no point. I'll make sure that all I'm doing is commenting, responding to comments and DMs, posting what I'm posting, and not giving any attention to anything else. So I'm not going to scroll. I'm not going to look at anything. So I'm sharing this with you in particular for the Virgos because your energy is too dispersed and you really need to bring it back in. There's a feeling of being solid in who you are that is missing at the moment. And so a lot of your decisions are going to start to be incredibly flaky. And that doesn't work well for a Virgo. A Virgo needs to be grounded and feel grounded at all times to be in their power. And I want to say this, the power of the Virgo is incredible. Not when your energy is dispersed, though, and that's you being incredibly flaky. So disconnect from all the stories, thoughts, and ideas that are dispersing your attention, taking your attention away from where it needs to be, which is present moment. I would also recommend for the Virgos maybe some yoga or any type of exercise. I don't know if yoga does this necessarily, but any type of exercise that supports you to feel grounded, that's going to be useful for you guys. Gosh, that's a long forecast for the Virgos. Almost 3 minutes. So Virgo, every star sign, again, this is all just energy, right? Every star sign, the psychology of your star sign for the Virgo is being grounded is something that is critical. Because when the Virgo is grounded, they are in their power. It's like Libra, when they're balanced, they are in their power. So for the Virgos, when you start to give attention to too many different people, places, events, and stories, you've lost your power. And what you find is there's an energy of being just flaky. You'll just go whichever way, nothing's working for you, and things of that nature. So you got to bring it back. One of the best ways to bring their attention back is slow movements for the Virgo. So that's why I said yoga. There are many other forms of exercise, I'm sure, that I don't know, maybe Pilates or something, but anything that helps you to come back into the body slowly. The key for the Virgo and being grounded is moving slowly. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Of course, any questions you're welcome to ask while I'm here. Just prepare for the Librans. Oh, I often find myself delivering very similar messages for the Librans, and I don't know if it's because, well, maybe they're not really paying attention. I'm not sure, but so the Librans, this is going to be interesting. Let me just see what comes in. Thank you. Oh, of course, Marina, it's my pleasure. You're most welcome. So the pausing is just sitting and just being here. I love it. I could do this for an hour and not talk at all. But the pausing is just being here. It's important for me that the message is clear. Not necessarily to me. I don't need to know what I'm sharing necessarily. What I need to know is that there's clarity in the message for the star sign that I'm delivering. And sometimes it's just being quiet. It's just pausing and feeling sensations. And if it takes a minute, great. If it takes 10 minutes, it takes 10 minutes. You can't hurry intuition. You can't force it. You can't push it. Come on, what's the message going to be? Quick, I got to get something out because I've, limited in time. Forget the time. It doesn't matter. People are waiting. Let them wait. People should know better than instead of waiting, they can practice being in the present moment. So if you are still here and you're listening live at the moment, whilst I pause, it's a great opportunity for you to practice feeling sensations in the inner energy field of your body. Can't force any of this. You can't push intuition. You can't have an agenda with intuition, which is great. I love it. I feel like the purest thing we have on this planet is our intuition. I feel like that's the only thing that's really pure. Okay. So the okay piece, that's usually okay, it's dropped in, got it, and just in case you're curious about the process. You do need to pay attention to your style of communication at the moment, dear Libra. And I say this because the way that you communicate to yourself, to your body, isn't working for you at its best at the moment. So it's almost as though you're trying to hurry your body along through a particular process that it's going through. I'll put it, it's like you have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old and you're trying to hurry them through the process of something that they're learning. Or I don't know how old babies are when they start walking. I don't have kids, and I don't remember with my niece and nephew, but when you can't push those moments, you can't hurry them along. And it's kind of what you're doing with your body at the moment and also your mental health and mental space, dear Libra, is you're trying to hurry it along. You're not listening, you're not paying attention. It's like, come on, quick, I need to get this particular result in my life, and I just need you to show up and turn up for me and deliver the result that I want, that I need. And your body's kind of like drowning, and it's saying to you, I need you to hear me. I need you to understand me. I need you to take better care of me. You need to pay attention to what your body is asking for. You need to pay attention to your mental health. I don't know how else to say this to you because I feel like we've been talking about this for quite a while. And so today in particular, you have to make sure that there are moments in your day where you stop. I don't care what anybody else needs from you because you're at a point where you won't be able to deliver anything anymore to anybody. So this is kind of like your last straw. Stop. Stop and slow down and listen to what your body needs from you. I think this is a warning for the Librans. Do not ignore what your body is asking for. And if you think you can't hear the messages, then slow down. Pay attention to the flow of your breath. Bring your attention to feeling sensations in the inner energy field of your body. Access that slower pace and take the time to give your body what it's asking for. Okay, I feel like it's a very serious message for the Librans, and I'm not surprised, to be honest, because I don't know any other star sign that can overfill their time and plate, if you like, as much as a Libra can and does. Busy, 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 busy. I have to be here. I don't want to disappoint anybody. I've got to be here for all of these people. Everybody needs me, so on and so forth. And then, of course, what do? They neglect, not intentionally, but unconsciously, they're neglecting their own needs, which is what their body needs from them. So as a Libra, there's warning signs everywhere. Pay attention to what your body needs from you. Okay, but that felt very serious. The energy feels very serious. I hope that the Librans are paying attention. Okay, so then we're going to dive into Scorpio. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Happy to answer them while I'm here. What if, dear Scorpio, you didn't need to know anything about the moment that you're in right now? How would that feel for you? And so the question is, what if you didn't need to know anything beyond this present moment? How would that feel for you? That feeling is what you have access to in your life, and it's that feeling that becomes the light at the end of the tunnel. You're looking for things outside of the present moment that don't actually exist. There is nothing beyond the present moment. It's a thought, it's an idea. So just for the Scorpios and just for today, if you remove the need to know anything beyond this moment, you'll access a feeling, and it's a feeling that is beyond your ability to understand it, beyond anyone's ability, not because you don't have the ability, by the way, but it's a feeling that is so big and can actually feel quite overwhelming if you're to really fully feel it. So let's say, for example, if I don't need to know anything beyond this present moment that I'm in, if I really don't need to know anything beyond this moment that I'm in, it takes a couple of times. You've got to keep asking yourself the question, what does it feel like if I don't need to know beyond anything beyond this present moment that I'm in? Because it's unfathomable to your logical mind, certainly to your ego. You're not asking the question of your ego either, but it's unfathomable that you can actually just be in this present moment and be here and not look for things that you've got to quickly fix, change, improve, move, do this, do that, so that your world can become whatever it is that you think it needs to become. That's a lot of mental noise. And one of the first things I feel happens is you disconnect from the mental noise. And that heaviness that is on your shoulders about all the things you think you need to know dissipates. So I urge you to use this question today as a practice, and maybe use this question a few times over throughout the week as well. I feel like it has the question itself has the power to bring you into a space that is beyond words. Sometimes I wish I could convey the message in a way that is a lot simpler. And so in a way that how I feel the message, I wish that I could kind of package that and give it to each star sign or each individual listening. Oh, that would be epic. Because then in that moment, the Scorpios can realize how truly free they are. But of course, the mind is going to jump in and battle with that question. Because it's impossible for the mind to consider, first of all, staying in the present moment. Oh, okay, cool. I think you conveyed the message perfectly to our Scorpions. Okay, great. I'm glad. It's impossible for the mind to consider that it doesn't have to work something out, because that's what it does all day long. And I want to say that's what's most exhausting. I find sometimes when I can hear myself saying, oh, I feel so tired. I'm so tired. And I stop and I'm like, hang on a minute. Why do I feel so tired? Okay, I've trained or I've done 2 walks or whatever, but that's not it, because it doesn't feel like a physical tired. Then I realize, I've spent time today, whether consciously or unconsciously, trying to figure things out that don't need to be figured out. And so it's not just that I'm tired, I am drained. And then recalibrate. Come back to the present moment and then recalibrate. Okay, now we're going to talk to the Sagittarians. I want to share this about the Sagittarians. This is something I've learned over time in delivering forecasts for the Sagittarians. And that is, there's a level of profound maturity and a level of such insane immaturity that the Sagittarians have. So they've got the side of them that is so mature and so capable And they have the exact, to the same degree, a side of them that is so immature and leads them, so immature emotionally, by the way, just emotional immaturity, and leads them down, I think spirals and rabbit holes that are unnecessary. How do we bring the two together and integrate it is probably a really great question for the Sagittarians. And I mean, the answer to every question often is the same, and that is first, present moment awareness. Come back to the present moment. Ask the question presently, like from a space of the present moment awareness. Then you actually have access to the true answer. But if you're not present, you won't have access to the true answer. And that's where you'll start to become drained because you're thinking and you're in your head trying to figure it out. Okay, so now let's deliver the forecast for the Sagittarius today. You have to be a bit careful, dear Sagittarius, with the way that you sometimes test yourself. There are certain things in your life that are good for you, and there are certain things in your life that are not good for you. And you keep testing between the two, and you keep oscillating between the two. And my feeling is that you're a lot wiser than the need that you have to keep testing yourself. The wisdom that you have, you're not using it to the degree that you need to be using it. You don't need to keep testing yourself. I know this is going to sound really strange. It's almost like you're saying, if I eat McDonald's every single day and pretend like it doesn't affect me, it won't affect me. I feel like you're better than that, and I feel like you're wiser than that. I'm not saying you're better than McDonald's or not. I don't really care about McDonald's. That's not the point. The point is there are certain things in your life that are going to negatively impact your world, and other things, other decisions that will positively impact your world. The point I'm making is you are aware of the decisions that negatively impact your world, and you are also very aware of the decisions that positively impact your world. So one of the decisions that positively impacts your world, as an example, is just as an example, right? I say as an example because this is all that comes to me, but could be, for example, that you could go walking every day. You decide I'm going to walk, an hour a day or something like that. That's going to positively impact your mood and improve this, improve that. You know this already. You don't need me to tell you. You don't need to go onto YouTube and find out what are the benefits of walking. You don't need to do that. Then you find ways to convince yourself not to do the thing that, or to honor the decision that positively impacts you. And then you start to lean towards decisions that negatively impact you. My feeling is that you keep oscillating between the two because you're testing yourself. The question I have for you, and perhaps it's for you to ask yourself, is what are you testing yourself about? What are you trying to figure out about yourself? I also would recommend that you take the time today maybe to listen to this forecast a few times, because I don't know that it's going to necessarily land at first. It may be one of those forecasts that you'll even have to come back to at the end of the day. However, that being said, take the question and ponder that question for today. What are you trying to test about yourself? Why? Why do you feel the need to test yourself? Yeah, okay, that's for the Sagittarians. How to integrate. How to integrate. Maybe I'll ponder that today for the Sagittarians as well. Okay. Then we're going to jump into the Capricorns. You have some support in your life at the moment, dear Capricorn, and it's newly found support in your life. It will be incredibly courageous of you and also quite wise of you to take this support on. I know that being a Capricorn, you're the goat, you're so capable, you can do everything and anything, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, however, your body ends up paying for it. Don't forget that. As capable as you are, there are certain points where the body starts to give way. I know it's going to sound quite strange. There's only so much pressure that you can handle without the body has its own way of handling things, and the mind has its very different way of handling things. And what I really want to get across is eventually it shows through the body. And so the support that you have in your life is here to allow you to give some energy and attention to your health and focus on making some really simple changes and simple and consistent changes that will support you to also shift what feels like a little bit of a dark cloud that sits somewhere in the back of your mind. So it's connected to your health. It could be, for example, that you've got support in your life, and so you get a little bit more time to yourself. And in that time to yourself, you may learn a little bit more about certain foods or research, and you realize there's, something missing from your diet. You bring that into your diet, and you start to notice your mind feels clearer, more open. Whatever it is that you change in your diet starts to shift your sleep pattern. You start to feel a lot better. That's the example that I'm giving. It is definitely connected to your health. And I wonder how much of that example is actually what is occurring for the Capricorns. Most importantly is accepting the support. The support will remain in your life for about 6 to 7 months. You have 6 to 7 months to focus more of your energy and attention on your health, which is actually really important for you. Because also, the more you're able to focus on your health, get better quality food or better quality sleep, and it affects your mental health, the better your ideas are and your capacity to bring success into your life. By the way, when I say bring success into your life, it's whatever success is for you. It's going to be different for each person. I don't know that there is any one way of saying, well, success means you've made $100 million. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. To me personally, success is how I sleep at night. That's the most important. That's my gauge of success. How deeply I can sleep at night based on the level of peace that I have within me. That is what is most valuable. Now, certain things will affect that peace, other things won't affect that peace. But to me, that's a true sign of success. I gauge my sleep. But other people, I guess it's money. Other people, it's what they look like. It's what they sound like. Everyone's going to be different. Just as well. Okay, then we're going to dive into the Aquarians. We're almost there. Any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going here. There's a moment of truth today for the Aquarians. It's a moment where you're able to look in the mirror and tell yourself something that is true to how you feel. How you feel can't be right or wrong. I want to make that really clear. There's nothing wrong with how you feel. You don't have to change it, fix it, or improve it. So you may look in the mirror, for example. I don't know if it's necessarily a physical thing. This is more of a metaphor. But let's just say you look in the mirror and you tell yourself a truth that you've been feeling. It could be, I feel disappointed with what I'm seeing. Okay. And that's a truth that has been sitting in you in the form of an emotion for quite a long time. I'm doing my best to explain this, so just stay with me here. It's not to say, because it's very easy to say, oh, don't judge yourself and don't be disappointed about what you're seeing. You need to learn to love yourself. All of that stuff is true, 100%. But you can't do that stuff if you're lying to yourself all the time. So if there's disappointment with what you're seeing, you need to be honest about that to begin with. You can't pretend to have gratitude for something that you don't have gratitude for. You can't bring gratitude into your life through pretense. It's by being 100% honest with yourself about how you feel. And again, it's just an example. So you may look in the mirror and go, I feel really disappointed with what I'm seeing. And just stop. Yes, it's going to be really hard to hear. And yes, every word carries its own vibration, 100%. But you can't do I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, and then pretend that's something that's going to work for you. And it doesn't work that way. First, it's honesty. Be honest. Be honest about how you feel with what you're seeing, as an example. Then from there, that honesty piece, there's a huge release. That disappointment has been sitting in your body for a long time. You think it's about what you're seeing, but it's not ultimately. Let that disappointment be there. Feel it. You might even feel it for the whole day, but usually it's about 90 seconds. And then that disappointment begins to dissipate because you've been honest about it. Then you can start to focus on shifting something. If something needs to be shifted, then you can, or aligning with true decisions. If there's a change that needs to be made, taking action. And you're more likely that way also to stay consistent with the decisions and the actions the decisions you make and the actions that you follow through with. You're far more likely to be consistent with them if you're honest about how you're feeling in the first place. Sorry, it took forever to get to that point. I hope you get the point. Okay, I don't know that I needed to waffle on there, but anyway, I hope the Aquarians get the point. I'm going to share this piece. I've done intuitive sessions for a very long time in my life. Whether the intuitive sessions are one-on-one or in group work, and I'm just about to bring group work back, which I'll announce shortly. But one of the most powerful things that I've learned over the years of working with individuals and groups, and I think group work is way more powerful than individual sessions, way more powerful, because you get to see your mirror like sevenfold. It's crazy. Is how dishonest people are about how they feel, how they truly feel, because of what it's going to mean about them. Or you shouldn't feel this way about yourself. You shouldn't feel this way about your body or your life or your relationship or whatever it may be. You should be grateful for what you have. And I agree with all of those things, except the should part is there because it's forced. And it's forced because you're not being honest about how you really feel. I cannot tell you the amount of incredible transformations that not only have I experienced myself, however, have seen in others the moment they were just honest. Actually, I feel really disappointed with whatever my decision has been. Instead of, no, I got this, I know I can do this. Instead of that bullshit, I should just feel very disappointed about the decision I've made in my life. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being real. Thank you for being honest. Now we can actually get on with it, right? Because your biggest blockage, wrong camera, sorry. Your biggest blockage is what you don't tell yourself, what you're not honest with yourself about. That's your biggest blockage. That's what will block you the most from your intuition. So what I'm about to do is deliver group work to help you guys, whoever wants to help, first understand what's in the way of them accessing their intuition. And I assure you, it's what you haven't been honest about. And so my greatest ability is to bring out questions that you couldn't even think of. Like, it's like, how do you even come up with that question? And to use that question to help you drop in as deeply as you possibly are willing to express whatever that unexpressed emotion is within you, which is usually by just saying how you truly feel. The difference here, by the way, is when you just say how you truly feel in, let's just say, in the group format, or whilst I'm facilitating, I won't give you the chance to get lost in it. That's what's important. Often if you do it by yourself, you're very quickly going to get lost in the story of it. And before you know it, you've gone down another dark spiral. Unnecessary. My job is to kind of grab you, but not physically, and say, okay, got it. You've been honest. Great. Now let's move. So that you don't give attention to, because your ego is very quickly going to come in and take over. My greatest ability is to grab your ego by the throat and say, now what do you got? Because in that moment, I'm going to keep your ego at bay while you get to be honest. And in that honesty, so much stuff comes up, out, stay present, and the ego doesn't get involved. I think one of the biggest reasons people are not honest with themselves is because they're scared. They're afraid of what it's going to mean about them. They're afraid of the dark spiral they're going to go down. So I'm going to open the door for group work and facilitate group work to help you understand what's in the way of your intuition, because intuition is something that is natural, right? We shouldn't have to try to dig deep to find intuition. You shouldn't have to do that. Okay, that being said, let's dive into Pisces, always the last one. You have no choice, and you've arrived at a point, dear Pisces, where you have no choice but to trust the space you are in. So you could do this one of two ways. One, trust it and allow the unfoldings to unfold, or keep trying to control it. Keep trying to force and steer it in a direction that you think it needs to go in. And that hasn't worked for you. And it hasn't worked for you ever in your life. It's led to more suffering. And so this is the great news. You're at a point where you don't want that same suffering anymore. You've had enough. You've had enough of suffering in the ways that you have made yourself suffer. And I'm not saying it's good, bad, right, or wrong. Okay? So because you've had enough, you have no choice now. The only thing you can do is go, I have to trust this process, and I will. I'm going to trust the space that I am in, regardless of what it looks like with my eyes. And so ultimately what you're doing is you're trusting your feeling, your gut deep down that keeps telling you, we got this. Keep moving forward. Just keep taking the next step. Because there's a lot of questions that surface and kind of float about in your mind. Am I doing this? Is it useful? Is it good? Am I getting anything out of it? What's the point? There's a lot of that going on at the moment for the Pisceans. A lot of that. I can hear it myself. And when you get down to the bottom of it, which is getting down to accessing your intuition, that gut feeling within, that's going to tell you, take the next step and just keep taking the next step. Keep moving forward, which is all you need to do. Now, in order for you to be able to do that, you have to trust the space that you're in. And so that's why I'm saying today you have no other choice but to trust this space. Otherwise, you're just going to go back to the same suffering that you've worked really hard to come out of. And I don't feel that that's an option for you anymore. In fact, it's not going to be an option. So because that's not an option, you don't have any other choice. Now, it's difficult. It's a very difficult space to be in for the Pisceans. However, it's also the space that allows you to rise. What the camera. So for the Pisceans, it's the circumstances that are bringing you to the point of perhaps falling on your knees in that you surrender and decide that the only choice that you have is to trust this space. It's actually a very good thing for you. It's difficult when you're in the thick of it. Believe me, I'm a Pisces, I know, and I'm 100% in the thick of it myself at the moment. However, what other choice do I have? I'm not going to go back to the usual old suffering. It's not useful. And the suffering is when you're trying to figure it all out. That's what causes the suffering. You get in your head and you try to figure out, maybe if I do this way, maybe if I do, and you just exhaust yourself. It's like, you know what the hell? Just let it be. Okay, and that is your forecast for today, being Friday the 7th of November. I appreciate you being here with me this morning. We will not be here tomorrow, so there's no live stream on the weekends. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do the horoscopes on the weekend. Wishing you all a wonderful weekend, and I will be back again Monday morning, same time. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM me. If there's anything you want me to talk about, please let me know. I'm happy to deliver all that type of content here on the lives, and I'll let you all know about the new intuitive group sessions that I'm about to release. Thank you for being here.